So welcome. My name is Steve Ritter. I work at the UC Davis Mind Institute with the Center for Excellence in Developmental Disabilities. And I'm so thankful today to have Kelsey Handcock and Hannah Liddell from Disability Rights California, who will be presenting a little bit about the services that Disability Rights California offers to people in California. I have to say that many of the people that I've worked with in the community have a very limited understanding of Disability Rights California. And so I'm really pleased today that we can provide an overview of at least some of the services that are provided. A little bit about the format for today. We'll be covering 3 of Disability Rights California's departments, including the Office of Clients' Rights Advocacy, the Office of Payee Review and Beneficiary Assistance, or OPRABA, and the Office of Legal Assistance. Because of today's format, we won't be able to ask questions directly, but if you type your questions into the Q&A field, then at the end of each part of this presentation, myself as the moderator will provide the opportunity for to raise up the questions that you have provided to us. So with that, I would like for the presenters to go ahead and take it away. Hannah, did you want to go first?
Sure, I can go first.
Right, thank you.
I think this is such a useful presentation because Disability Rights California is pretty large. We have over 200 employees and lots of different units, and it's hard to know what is what. So I'm happy to introduce you to mine today. My name again is Hannah Liddell. I'm an associate managing attorney in the Office of Payee Review and Beneficiary Assistance, which I'm going to introduce you to today. We're actually in the process of rebranding because our unit is merging with the investigations unit, which does sort of abuse and neglect investigations at facilities throughout California. So we're going to be called CAPRI soon, but for now, you can just call us OPRABA. And this presentation is about 15-20 minutes long. So we just really cut it back to the basics, what you need to know about our unit and why you would want to call us. So for those who don't know, Disability Rights California is a nonprofit. We were established through federal law to protect and advocate for people with disabilities. My particular unit is generically called the Representative Payee Program. And although we do work that Social Security used to do prior to the creation of our program in April of 2018, we are employees of Disability Rights California, not Social Security. And if you want just a little behind the scenes, our program was created by a bipartisan law called the Strengthening Protections for Social Security's Beneficiaries Act of 2018. It's a long one, long title. And if you want to read more about it, you can go to that Social Security link right there and read about the creation of our program. And by the way, there's a representative payee program just like us. We call ourselves OPRABA because in California, we like to label ourselves everything in a special way, but there is one of us in every state and I believe territory in United States. So just a quick overview of what we're going to go through today is what does our unit do? How can we help your clients and community members, and how can you contact us for help? So what do we do? The bulk of it is reviews of representative payees, which I'll explain what that is in a moment. Educational visits, you don't need to worry about those. Develop corrective action plans to fix the problems we see when we do reviews of representative payees. We provide trainings like this one, but we also have, for example, a representative payee best practices training that we have provided to parents and families, just so they know everything they're supposed to be doing as a representative payee for Social Security. And we also provide information and referrals to the beneficiaries, those actually receiving the benefits when we are out in the field. So what is the point of a review? It's just to make sure that Social Security rep payees are properly using funds on behalf of beneficiaries and are carrying out their duties correctly. There's different types. I'm not going to go into the details of these types for quick response checks, but in particular, I want you to know about OPRABA, our unit initiated reviews, which these are ones that we feel we should go out and review a payee because someone has reported that there may be an issue or someone maybe needs more education about how to carry out their duties appropriately. And that can come from any number of sources. We have nominated nursing homes that we've read about in the New York Times, for example. We get referrals from Adult Protective Services and the Ombudsman. It can come from anywhere, including any of you in the audience. So when we do a review, and we have just routine reviews that we do for payees that already exist and those nominations that I was talking about. So we've got our routine ones. We can nominate someone if somebody has an issue. If we find any trouble or issues that we see in the representative payee review, for example, some record keeping problems, or maybe a bank account is not titled correctly, we can issue a corrective action plan to the payee, asking them to fix whatever problem we've found. More serious deficiencies and fraud, we coordinate that with Social Security and sometimes the Office of Inspector General if it's serious. And of course, SSA will approve, Social Security will approve our caps before we send them out. I have only had one return, so we try to get creative with them when we can. The CAP will note all the deficiencies that we found that we want corrected and recommend the corrective action, as well as monitoring that corrective action. So we also do training like this one. One of the more popular ones is best practices for money management and representative payee services. So if I haven't mentioned it already, a representative payee is a person that is appointed by Social Security to manage benefits on behalf of someone who is unable to do it on their own or direct the management of those benefits. And so often they will receive this authority from Social Security, but they may not get the all the training that they might want or need. So we can provide that training. We also train various state agencies, regional center staff, and also representative payees themselves. Sometimes payees just really need help. We've come out to review them, and they ask us to actually provide a separate training about their about what they're supposed to be doing to meet their duties. We also have a lot of good publications. So if you haven't already checked out the Disability Rights California website, lots of great information on there, including how to become your own payee if you are interested in doing that. All the best practices, duties are in there. So if you haven't already, go check it out. And then part of the review process is, of course, speaking with beneficiaries, interviewing them. And if we find problems beyond the review, just, if we find abuse or neglect, we are mandated reporters. So we do report to Adult Protective Services. We file complaints with community care licensing if we see issues in facilities, state Medicaid fraud, et cetera. And for those sort of abuse and neglect related issues, we do try to holistically provide referrals to the beneficiaries we meet if they need help in a specific area. For example, food banks in the area that they live will put together resources that can help them. And any referrals that we do provide, we seek the authorization from the beneficiary before we share any information so that we're not breaching any rules of confidentiality. We do have a few limitations. We're not a direct services provider. So that means we don't have clients. We can't represent someone at a Social Security office. So even though we would like to, that's not something that we're permitted. So how do we help, you may ask? We help in addition to helping beneficiaries individually with whatever resources and referrals we can provide, we also help in a systemic way in changing poor payee practices by correcting them through the corrective action plan process. We monitor them, and we hope that this will help many beneficiaries in the end. So one referral for one beneficiary, we hope would help many beneficiaries in the end if we're correcting sort of a macro poor practice. So if you encounter a community member who has a representative Payee for Social Security, and they have some questions, you have some questions, you can refer them to us. You can call me directly and we can talk about it. If they're interested in becoming their own Payee, or another common situation is someone's moved into a facility and the Payee is not paying their rent or their share of costs at a nursing home. They're just keeping the money. If you encounter these types of situations, you can call us. And we'll send the nomination to Social Security so that we can get in there and review the Payee just to see what's going on. It's a relatively quick process to get the nomination through to Social Security. I would say 2-3 weeks before we hear whether it's been approved or not. And then we will review the representative Payee and implement a corrective action plan. So I just want to give one quick example of how we've assisted in the past with the referrals that we've received. We got a referral from an Adult Protective Services APS worker about a fellow who was in I believe it was a nursing facility, and his share of costs had not been paid for over a year. And so we sent the nomination and reviewed his brother, who was his Payee at the time. And in doing the records review, we found that the brother was falsifying documentation, making the bank statements look like he had paid the facility when actually he was keeping all the money. And he had stolen about $10,000 from his brother, not to mention not paying the facility and putting his placement at risk. So that's just one of the ways we can help, having this person removed, reporting fraud to Social Security and the Office of the Inspector General, and having a more appropriate Payee appointed. So I just wanted to share that. And if you have any questions, sorry about the lawnmower outside, you can call our intake line or call or email me directly. My number is there. And my email is there.
Looking at the Q&A field, I am not seeing any questions right now, but I have a few questions that I would like to ask. And the first one is that you mentioned the referral process, and thank you so much for giving your contact information on the slide. I'm wondering, first of all, if you wouldn't mind, because I don't believe people can copy directly from that, if you wouldn't mind entering that into the chat field so that everyone gets that directly. But I also wanted to ask, many of the people that I sent this out to are clients of the Regional Center. And I want to clarify, what is the breadth of disabilities that Disability Rights California and the Office of OPRABA within Disability Rights California can serve? Is it limited to people with regional center services? Is it, just explain that bit.
Absolutely. So for us, and Kelsey will talk more about her limitations in terms of regional center, but we, anybody that is receiving Social Security benefits is someone that we can assist. So not limited at all. The only limitation is that you must be receiving Social Security. How serious of a concern does it need to be for someone to contact your office and say, I have a concern either for myself or someone who I know? How serious does that concern need to be for them to contact you? It doesn't have to be serious at all. In fact, we've had referrals from regional center service coordinators who just wanted a parent who was struggling a bit to understand her duties as a Payee, just to have a little more training. And in fact, it doesn't even have to be financially related, as long as there's a representative Payee. For example, if you visit a client in a facility and you just have some concerns about the facility itself, not necessarily financial, we can also nominate that. So really, any reason, if you feel there's something you'd like us to look into, you can call.
And then can you just give me a sense of, the impact of having the corrective action? You kind of mentioned that one situation with the brother, but I mean, what kinds of things do you see when a corrective action has been approved and implemented?
Right. Well, it really runs the gambit. It can be something as small as, hey, you shorted this person 37 cents or your bank account is not correctly titled, all the way to, I had a case where I forced the payee to refund fees that they had taken out of stimulus funds, additional fees, and it ended up being around $50,000 that was refunded to the beneficiaries. So it can have sort of a small thing, your record keeping is a little poor, let's fix that, all the way up to here's a massive amount of money that you owe all these people. So it can really have an impact in small and big ways.
But the question is, so if the facility is not a representative payee, but the facility is not providing adequate medical care, would that be something that you could assist with?
That would not fall under our jurisdiction because we review representative payees. So if the facility is not a payee, we may not be able to review them, but they may be a payee for someone else. So potentially we could get in there anyway. And if they're not providing adequate care, there's a good chance that they're not providing very good financial management either. And so I would say, refer it to us anyway, and we can look into it. In addition to, of course, reporting to the Department of Public Health and all the other sort of normal channels that you would want to report any concerns about health and safety.
And I do just want to clarify that even if you call Hannah or I, and we determine just based on our conversation that our office is not the correct office to really assist with that matter, we will refer you to the correct office or send your information over there and have them contact you.
What about the people with disabilities who receive I'm believing it's received Medi-Cal? You can see I don't know if you can see the chat as well, but I believe that's the question.
Well, if they're receiving Medi-Cal, they're likely receiving SSI. So if they are receiving SSI, we can review their representative payee. I guess that's what you're asking. I hope I got it right. But we're not Medi-Cal reviewers, we're Social Security reviewers. But like I said, often they're tied, they're linked to each other, so we can review.
So let's go ahead now and we will transition over to Kelsey Handcock, who will talk about the Office of Clients' Rights, as well as the Legal Assistance Program within Disability Rights California.
Okay, well, thank you, everyone. And thank you, Hannah, for the explanation on OPRABA. Over here at Disability Rights California, we love our acronyms and our program acronyms. So if you have any questions, we can spell out acronyms for you as well. My name is Kelsey Handcock. I'm the Clients' Rights Advocate through the Office of Clients' Rights Advocacy, OCRA. And we're another program through Disability Rights California. And just like Hannah was saying that we have some limitations, our office specifically represent individuals of the regional center. So I did want to just have my contact information on the screen here, along with the contact information for the ACRA, the Assistant Clients' Rights Advocate, Clara Torres, and our office phone number. I will copy and paste it and put it in the chat as well later on, and so everyone can have that information after the screen is gone. So we did give a quick information just about Disability Rights California and how we're an agency designated under federal law to protect and advocate for the rights of individuals, Californians with disabilities. So And we have many programs that can work in litigation, that works with representation, advocacy services, investigations, or just simple information advice and referrals in the community. So for over 40 years, we've worked to advance the rights of Californians with disabilities. And before I start talking specifically about the program I work through, OCRA, I did want to talk about for these others that are on this call right now who are not regional center consumers, who do not have family members who are regional center consumers. We have many programs through DRC, Disability Rights California, that can assist those outside of OCRA. So we have what I want to talk about when it comes to the Legal Advocacy Unit. Now, this program fights for integration when it comes to communities, equal opportunities, freedoms from discrimination, along with getting access to services and supports. There are many programs through Legal Advocacy Unit that can assist depending on what your concern is. So they have many what they call the legal practice groups. They have the civil rights practice group, healthcare, home and community-based services. We have the mental health practice group for individuals with mental health concerns, pathways to work, and this advocacy group helps when it comes to getting individuals equal access from discrimination in an employment setting. Also, recently, we have the voting rights practice group to help individuals that feel like their rights to vote have been harmed in any way. And that's been helpful considering we just had an election and then we had an election previously. So we really want to bring out that information to help individuals with those rights to vote. And the big one that's happening going through our organization is the youth practice group. And that advocacy program is for individuals who are not a regional center consumer, but need assistance when it comes to education, special education services, and any other services that would be for minors. So when it comes to the program I work for, which is OCRA, the Office of Clients' Rights Advocacy is a program through Disability Rights California. So we're funded through a contract with the California Department of Developmental Services. And we want to advocate that I'm an advocate on behalf of consumers with disability rights. And we have 21 regional centers across the state. So we will have 21 different clients' rights advocates that represent each regional center throughout the state. When it comes to advocacy, I work with individuals who are either currently receiving regional center services or individuals that are looking to be eligible for regional center services. So as a client's rights advocate, what I do is I am trained specifically to advocate for people on behalf of individuals with developmental disabilities, one for every regional center. I want to clarify that I am not an employee of the regional center. I'm an employee of Disability Rights California. This sometimes comes into some confusion with clients believing that I am a regional center employee and that if they have concerns with the regional center or services that they can provide, that they would not feel comfortable talking to me about it. But if you are having concerns with the regional center or services, you absolutely can come to us and discuss it because I am not their employee. I provide free legal services for any regional center consumer. And so with that free legal service, I can help resolve legal problems that could be related to your disability. And I do want to add, when it comes to the assistant client's rights advocate, I briefly mentioned her in the beginning, Clara Torres. She is the person who helps manage the office. We are a two-man team, so she helps when it comes to answering phones, returning phone calls, helping complete intakes with individuals, and she can assist clients directly and also provide trainings. What I do want to clarify for many people on the phone call is that Clara is bilingual. She speaks Spanish as well. So if you or somebody you know has concerns, difficulties with anything that is going on, you are a regional center consumer. If you speak Spanish as your primary language, you can call our office and Clara can help assist when it comes to providing information, but also help translate for me. So the big areas that we help assist with is providing information on your legal rights. A lot of it is if you are calling just to know what would be the next steps, or how can I file this appeal? Can I do this with the school district? We can help talk with you about your legal rights and what next steps could be. So it doesn't necessarily mean that we can represent you directly in a hearing or any other matter, but the vast majority of my work is just providing the information on how you can advocate for yourself or for your family member. I can review documents or advise on how to resolve your case. If a lot of it right now is special education, so you have an IEP document that you're confused about something in there, or you just have questions, you can send that over to me and I can help review the IEP with you. And if you have concerns about language that's in there, if English is not your first language and you have some concerns, we can help with translation purposes as well. We can help prepare for upcoming meetings, hearings, any of those, help you prepare evidence, help you how to argue and advocate for yourself in an administrative hearing. We like to try and help individuals advocate on their own. Additionally, we can help when it comes to providing legal trainings. So simply providing legal trainings for consumers, families, service providers. As we said here, we're going to have another training coming up about special education. So that's part of my job over here. And for these other concerns, we can also represent individuals at hearings or at meetings. That doesn't necessarily mean that I can directly represent every single person, but at least if you have a concern where something is going wrong with the school district or something's going on with this hearing for IHSS or any other county, regional center service, that is something we can assist with. And then finally, I also investigate when it comes to denial of rights issues. These are for individuals who are in placement settings that are not their home-based settings. So we can review it and make sure that if something is going to be removed or something is going to be terminated when it comes to your rights, I would go in to do an investigation to determine if that is legal, if that is even appropriate. Now, I want to look at a couple of the areas of law that OCRA can assist consumers with. We look at many of these common areas that we work in: Regional Center, Lanterman Act services. Special education is a big one right now. We work in Social Security, Medi-Cal, private insurance, discrimination actions, personal autonomy, IHSS, abuse and neglect claims. I put in asterisks when it comes to conservatorship and guardianship issues. Our office, we are client-centered. We do not advocate or assist with conservatorships. However, we can speak with anyone that has a family member who wishes to have a conservatorship and talk with them about alternatives to conservatorships, including power of attorneys or any other limited option that would prevent a full-on removal of that client's rights. So I just wanted to provide a little bit of a list of some of the free legal services our office provides. We can assist with everything when it comes to representation at an SSI hearing, age redeterminations. We can work with information on how to apply for SSI or how to appeal a denial for any other, either SSI, a denial when it comes to an overpayment concern, many of those issues. Another ones when it comes to IHSS, in-home supportive services. We can help when it comes to appealing denials, requesting protective supervision. We can work with Medi-Cal concerns when it comes to share of costs, waivers. We look at alternatives to conservatorship. We can also do when it comes to reasonable accommodations at work or in the housing. We're getting several additional issues when it comes to accommodations for work and housing just due to the pandemic. So these many areas of legal issues that we can further assist you in. So how would OCRA help clients with their concerns? We would first call when it comes to a basic phone call for information on the consumer's phone number, address, birthday, just to actually make sure we know who we're speaking to and get your basic information. Mostly it's going to be Clara or another assistant client's rights advocate who would contact to get all the basic information about the concern and any documents that would be needed when it comes to review. And then they would send that information over to me for further review. I would either call the person up to clarify any questions or provide more information on how we can further assist the client. The big areas when it comes to how we assist regional center consumers when they call is really when it comes to 4 areas that we can assist when it comes to the type of information we can provide. I can do everything from just providing basic information or referrals. Somebody calls and says, you know what, I'm not quite sure about the IEP process. I requested a meeting. How long does this take for the school to actually do an IEP meeting? I can quickly respond, well, from the time you request, they have 30 days to set one up. Great. Information completed, and the person can go on their way. If they have any other questions, they can give me a call. Or we can do a referral. Big ones I get is calling for family law services. I really, really want to clarify, I do not do family law. I don't like it. I was in it for a little bit of time, don't want to go back. Don't call me. I don't want to know about your child custody concern. I know we get a lot of those, but that is a completely different area of law that I cannot assist with. So we get those where you have a child who is a regional center consumer and you're currently in a child custody battle with the child's other parent. I can refer you to some family law attorneys, and that is about it. We can do technical assistance where I can assist with a case, everything except actually attending on behalf of that client. So we can do all the background work, whether that is helping put together documents, helping put together evidence, helping you when it comes to questions or getting anything completed before a hearing or a meeting. We can do where we go an investigation of the case. That usually comes in when it comes to denial of rights concerns. And then finally, direct representation. Now, direct representation is when I am agreeing to completely take on this consumer's case. And you will know you're directly represented because we will sign a representation agreement and I will move forward and be the authorized representative for this case in concern. Sometimes we have to clarify for people that a call does not mean an automatic representation. I still have to review the case when it comes to deciding whether I'm going to represent a consumer, because as I did state before, we are a 2-person team. And we get many, many calls. On average, get about 80 cases a month, and I cannot represent every single person, unfortunately. We'll look at the merits of the case. We'll look at their ability to advocate for themselves. If you have a client that feels that they can advocate for themselves, great, we can provide background work and assist that person. Or if that person has family members, friends, or other advocates that can assist them. We'll look at the availability of our resources. Right now, with special education season on the ground right now, I can go for an example of last week. I had close to 20 clients request that I attend an IEP meeting. I cannot attend 20 IEP meetings within a 2-week process. So for some of those concerns, I have to review the case, decide what it is they're asking at this IEP meeting, what can we do, and if that person can represent themselves, then unfortunately I have to decline representation. We can look at other advocacy sources that could be available to the consumer. For example, if that's something I cannot assist with, but I feel that the merits of the case are good and the consumer really cannot advocate for themselves, I can shop the case around to many other program areas within California, within DRC, and within OCRA to another client's rights advocate. For example, we had a client's rights advocate up in Butte County who really could not take on a case, but it was a very strong case for a family that really desperately needed the help. So she started asking the client's rights advocates around the area if anyone could help. I happened to be available around that time period. We took on the case. So our office in Sacramento was able to take on a Butte County case. And then we recently just got a decision last week that we won the case and that child was given IHSS services. So we're very happy for that. So is every caller considered a client? No, we only contract with DDS for consumers of the regional center. We're not representing their family members, not representing service providers, and not other advocates. We really want to clarify that the consumer is our client. We get this a lot when it comes to family members that are contacting saying that I don't like the placement that my child is in right now. I ask, okay, how old's your child? Well, my child's 30-something years old. Not a child, but okay. We call that client and they go, no, I'm actually happy in my placement. My mom's just a little overprotective. You can ignore her. We don't ignore parents, but we go by what our client tells us, and we contact the mother to tell her that, client says that he likes it and we're not going to do any further advocacy. Have a nice day. So this is really when it comes to expressed or best interests of a consumer. We try to explain to family members when it comes to when a family member has an adult child, when that consumer is of age, we have to look at their expressed interest. If they're telling me that they want to do something, then I'm going to advocate and represent my client. And a famous saying that I always tell parents is that when it comes to a consumer of the regional center and it comes to my client, I will always advocate for their best interests. I will always advocate for their stated interests. And I want to advocate for their own decision making. And sometimes it's bad decision making. And that's part of parenting, right? Is that sometimes you have to let them make their own bad decisions. And that could be for any young adult coming into the world. So I get a lot of not so happy thoughts after I explain that, but what can I do, right? When it comes to the best interest of a client, this comes in when a client really cannot state their expressed interest. This could be for clients who are nonverbal, who are confused in any way that would make it so that we really cannot communicate with them effectively. So we'll look at family, we'll look at circle of support, we'll look at their service providers through the regional center, any other person who we feel is looking out for the best interest of this person. And part of that is also confidentiality, of really speaking with clients and letting them know and letting their family know that if I'm speaking with them, we end up in a attorney-client privilege. You are speaking to me, detailing your concerns. I do not share that concern with any other person outside of us unless I get your permission. So you have a concern with the regional center and you have a concern about your service provider, service coordinator. I will not go around and then go tell that service coordinator, hey, Susie has a problem with you. She doesn't like you at all. We don't do that unless you tell me that it is okay to speak with Susie, speak with the service coordinator, speak with any other person, that if you want to resolve that concern, that is where the confidentiality comes in. And sometimes that also comes in when it comes to conflicts of interest, where if a conflict arises between the interests of a parent and the interests of an adult consumer of the regional center, I'm going with the consumer of the regional center. And that also applies when it comes to a service provider or your service coordinator at the regional center. The consumer is my client, and I will take their interests. So finally, what if you have a problem that OCRA cannot assist the consumer with? I know we brought it up a little bit with Hannah's presentation that if somebody calls our office and we find that we really cannot assist them with this issue, you call us and we find that your child is not a regional center client or you are not a regional center client, then we can refer you to another advocacy agency. I can refer you over to Disability Rights California, to any of the legal practice groups to see if that is something they can assist with. We can help when it comes to sending self-help publications. If it's a small concern, you just need an answer to a small question. We can also refer you to any other family resource center or any other advocacy program that can assist. So finally, if you do want to contact Disability Rights California, if you're on this call and you are not a regional center consumer and you would like to have assistance through Disability Rights California for any concern, you can contact any of our offices nearby. I can assume that most of the people here are at least in the Sacramento area. So the Sacramento office is our main office. I've provided the phone number you can contact and the address. Do want to clarify that we are not, as you can see from our backgrounds, we are not in the office. A lot of us are working from home at the moment. So if you do need assistance where it would require you going into the office, I would suggest you call ahead of time and see if somebody can meet you there. So how would you contact a local OCRA office? Well, I'm going to provide my contact information below, but you can also contact any of these phone numbers for Northern California or Southern California and find your local OCRA office through there. Additionally, we have an online staff directory that you can find at disabilityrightsca.org. So yeah, then that is complete. If anybody has any questions or want to share anything.
Thank you so much, Kelsey. I see there are a couple of questions within the Q&A, but before we get to there, one of the things I just want to clarify, you mentioned that that the Office Clients Rights Assistant, that it is primarily for people who are regional center clients.
Correct.
However, I also just want to tie back something that, as you were mentioning what the Office of OCRA does, one of the things that your office does is for people who are trying to establish regional center eligibility, that is one of the services that you also provide.
Correct. So if it is anybody who is currently receiving or somebody that is looking to become eligible for the regional center. So you have requested that eligibility and been denied, you can contact our office and we can assist with eligibility concerns.
Excellent. One other thing that I just wanted to mention is that the Disability Rights California, and correct me if I'm wrong, but as a broad organization, agency, Disability Rights California serves people throughout the range of disabilities. And the Office of Clients' Rights is a subgroup of Disability Rights California that again focuses on a narrower group of people. Is that correct?
Correct. We only focus on clients of the regional center.
Okay. So the office, as we established earlier with Hannah, the Office of Payee, the OPRABA is how I know how to say that. That is open to anyone who receives Social Security, regardless of the type of disability. But again, your office is a little bit more, well, quite a bit more confined to just the one population of people who have developmental disabilities.
Exactly. So disability rights, if you are not a regional center consumer, you are welcome to contact DRC and do an intake through the front office, and they can connect you to the correct practice program or any other person that can assist them with their concern. Additionally, if you call me and find that you are not a regional center consumer, I can easily provide your information to the correct person and have them contact you.
Thank you. I just wanted to make those clarifications because we started off by saying that Disability Rights California can serve, people across the disability spectrum. And then I just wanted to just make sure that we didn't leave this thinking that it's only for people who have regional center clients. So some of the questions that came up, we actually had two that were focused on the issue that you mentioned in terms of that you, as a client's rights advocate, your job is to represent the needs and the wishes of people who are the actual consumer and who have the disability. But we had two people who had questions about if a person has a conservatorship, you then be working with the conservator.
Yes, that is actually a great question. Because our office is very client-centered, even if somebody is conserved, we would still need the consent of that client to speak further, even with a conservator. So that's where there is some changes when it comes to other offices. Some other offices may be able to just continue speaking with a conservator without the input, but just from our standpoint, we still want that consent from the client to make sure that it is okay that I speak with their conservator.
And a follow-up that although it's not been typed in yet, I'm guessing it would be typed in soon, would be that if a person is genuinely unable to communicate consent, would you be able to talk to the conservator with someone who, again, could not provide any form of consent?
So there would definitely be some challenges to that, but it would depend on what the concern is. So if the conservator is contacting us for an issue that just based on the issue, based on their relationship and based on others around the service coordinator or any other person, if they find that it is in the best interest of this client to assist, then we will continue to assist even without the verbal consent from a person. It doesn't necessarily need to be verbal consent either. This issue was a lot more helpful when we were not in a pandemic where I could physically see a client, but you can definitely see it through body language where you have a person who can't verbalize, but if I mention the conservator's name and they smile and they look at them, they shake their head, yes, that is kind of my idea that, okay, they are consenting to speak with this person. I say their name and their face gets rigid. They kind of lose that body language. If the body language is saying, no, I don't feel comfortable with this, then we will look at another path.
Another question, which actually ties in with what I just put into the chat, is because next week you're going to be doing another presentation with us on the 20th about education issues. And so the question is education related, which is, has the IEP timeline changed due to the pandemic?
And I can do a quick answer, no. There was some extensions at the very beginning of the pandemic, but they have all been resolved now. Everything is back to normal timelines. And I'll go further into areas that have changed due to the pandemic next week in the IEP presentation.
The last question, and to be honest, I'm not sure if this will be for you or for Hannah, but the question is, have you heard of blockages from Medi-Cal beneficiaries to receiving regional center services for early intervention evaluations? And I'm glad you're taking this because I don't even quite.
I have not heard about it. I've heard of delays when it was the beginning of the pandemic, but I have not heard of complete blockages. I've heard of delays.
If someone were experiencing that, do you have any recommendations? Would it simply be to contact you, or what would you suggest?
So every situation is going to be quite unique when it comes to Medi-Cal beneficiaries. So if you are seeing any concerns about delays in services, please feel free to give our office a call and we can assist.
And we have one that I don't know. You can answer this if, wait, I'm sorry.
I see some about Brittany and Jessica. Yes. So yes, Brittany and Jessica are still involved with DRC. Brittany actually was in my position as the previous CRA. She moved up and now she is my supervisor. So she is supervising many of the different offices throughout California. Jessica is still involved with DRC, but she's no longer with OCRA. She moved to another department, so she is still assisting.
Thank you. And then I'm not sure if this is, I think this is a new one. Does the Regional Center have an extended timeline to assess because of COVID?
They did in the beginning, but now those timelines should be back to normal. We'd be happy to, again, if you are receiving concerns about further delays, then please feel free to contact our office and we can assist. But these timelines should be the same now. They should have gone back to normal.
Yeah. And is next Wednesday going to do a timeline when we get back to normal from the COVID pandemic?
I don't know what normal means. Is this going to be the new normal? So yes, so next week for special education services, I can provide some information on things that have changed due to the pandemic, what areas of education are going to possibly permanently change due to it, and what areas are going to revert back to, I guess, the new normal, what was normal. Then again, the information I provide is what we know as of this moment. Everything changes as a weekly basis. We have more areas that are getting more of the Delta variant. So we are expecting more school closures possibly. But obviously that's going to be worst case scenarios down the future.
Thank you. So I do want to just make a note, and this comes up from, I saw something that that was responded to within the chat, which was, will these PowerPoint slides be available? And I should have mentioned at the very beginning that this event was recorded, and this event will be posted up on the Mind Institute's website. And if anyone is having difficulty locating that, I will type my email within the chat so that people can contact me directly, and I will make sure that they receive a copy, or I'm sorry, a link to the recording. And I believe, oops, looks like we have a couple. Can we get information about DRC's representative payee training as a parent who is a representative? I hope I understood correctly that this is an option, and that would be for you, Anna.
I missed the first part of the question. You're looking for the representative payee best practices training?
Yes, it would be someone who is themselves a representative training, looking for a training on best practices.
Yes. The PowerPoint, I mean, there is a best practices publication. The particular training materials, I don't think are on the website, but if you reach out to me via email, we can have a call, or I can share the PowerPoint with you directly.
And are there any regularly scheduled trainings on that topic?
There are not. We would love to collaborate with, maybe if you're a regional center consumer, maybe Kelsey and I can talk about having a joint Social Security representative payee basics training. That would be good. But if you have an event or something you'd like us to come speak at and train a group of parents who are payees, I'd be more than happy to do
that. And then the last question had to do with the concern that with two CRAs within the entire Alta catchment area, if you were stretched in, and if so, is there a way for people to become volunteer advocates?
Yes, so yeah, 2 people. I do want to clarify, it's 2 people that are permanently in the office. We do have assistance from what we call statewide ACRAs who come and help with our office as well. But if you are looking to volunteer any other opportunity, either through OCRA or through DRC, I'm sure that you can contact DRC to ask if there are volunteer opportunities.
Okay. And finally, I would feel bad if we did this entire event without me pulling up real quick to the Disability Rights California publications page. And is that showing at this point?
Yes.
Okay. So I have to say that the work that I do, working with families, this is probably one of the first places that I turn to for information. And when I'm looking to provide families with resources regarding, especially in the areas of regional center eligibility, Social Security eligibility, just general information, I really encourage people to check out the resources that are on Disability Rights California's resource page. It's incredibly helpful, specific, and usable. So it's something that I really encourage people to utilize. And I don't know if you guys have any information that you'd like to share about that.
I think that's it. Yeah, that area is very useful when it comes to many different areas. We also have at the very bottom of that page a full manual, what we call the SIR manual, Special Education Rights and Responsibilities. That will answer so many questions about special education rights. And then we have RULA, which is the Regional Center Rights Responsibilities, where it has so much information about your rights and services that can be provided by your local regional center.
Perfect. So Kelsey, I'm hoping that at next week's presentation, that you'll highlight that resource that you mentioned regarding special education.
Absolutely.
All right. All right. So it looks to me that the questions from today have ended. And so I would really like to end today's presentation with thanking Kelsey and Hannah from Disability Rights California for making yourselves available, for providing a very, very insightful and valuable explanation about really just some of the things that Disability Rights California can do. And for the families and people who are attending this event, I would really encourage you, if you have not tapped into Disability Rights California as an ally, that you really tap into this resource, because genuinely, probably the most practical agency that I'm familiar with that can really provide information, provide resources, and as you talked about, in some cases, actually do direct intervention. But even when that's not possible, I have found that your services have been incredibly impactful in the lives of people who've used your service. So again, thank you for coming on today. I encourage people to register for the event that's coming up next week. If you're still within the school process. Thank you again. Kelsey and Hannah, would you just like to say your finals?
Sure. Yes. Thank you so much for having me, having us. And if you have any Representative Payee questions, Social Security questions, please feel free to reach out to me and we can talk about it.
Thank you everyone for hosting us, and look forward to seeing many of you and some new faces next week.
Thank you so much. And we hope to see everyone next week.
The UC Davis Mind Institute was founded in 1998 with the promise to reduce and prevent the disabilities that can be associated with autism and other neurodevelopmental conditions. Every day, our clinicians and researchers make progress on that promise. Our groundbreaking research on autism, Fragile X syndrome, chromosome 22q11.2 deletion syndrome, ADHD, and other conditions associated with disability are helping affected individuals achieve their fullest potential. Please visit our website or our social media platforms to find out more about current studies, upcoming events, and how you can help make a difference.